Welcome to Men of a Certain X, a solo episode today, as Dave's attending to some personal matters. My heart and my thoughts are with him. He'll be back probably on Friday or Monday. So today, a short and sweet solo episode. We're just going to dive in a couple of things that are in the news that maybe you've seen or heard about, and maybe you haven't, just to give you a quick rundown of some of the more disgusting and interesting things going on. So speaking of disgusting, one of the most disturbing things that you may have not seen, and I hope you haven't because it's hard to get it out of your mind once you have seen it. Earlier this week, as folks entered the Housing and Urban Development building in Washington, D.C., you may have heard that a video was playing, an AI-generated video that said the words, "Long live the real king," which showed President Donald Trump just going to town, slobbering on Elon Musk's two left feet, as the video has it. And it's a short video on loop, AI generated again, it didn't actually happen. And it was displayed as people were entering the building. The person behind it has apparently been identified. Sounds like it was maybe an employee or otherwise had access to the building, and they've been removed. No details on who that was at this time, as far as I know. But as that was displayed, the video was captured by a number of people. You can see clippings of it in different articles and posts online. I would tell you, don't look at it. It is truly hideous. Elon Musk is sitting with a slight smile on his face with his two naked left feet exposed, and Donald Trump in a suit just slobbering on that big toe in a truly disturbing manner. Now, there's some people that have fetishes for this kind of stuff and pay good money to watch people do things with other people's feet or maybe even their own feet. And if that's you, then maybe this video is for you. But for the rest of us, it's truly disturbing. So if you haven't seen the video and you want to see the video, I'll probably include a capture of it on the Blue Sky post that goes along with this podcast. You can see it there or look it up online. I hope you don't make that mistake. Don't see it. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things in the news as there's this sort of subtle protest, right? People are frustrated with Doge and sort of protesting in different ways. This is one person's way of protesting by putting this video up for folks to see. Others are protesting in other ways. And so news broke yesterday that 21 civil service employees resigned from the Doge task force, saying that they were refusing to use their technical expertise to, in quotes, according to the AP, dismantle critical public services. Continuing from their letter, the 21 engineers said, "We swore to serve the American people and uphold our oath to the Constitution across presidential administrations. However, it has become clear that we can no longer honor those commitments." So again, one more way that people are saying, hey, we don't like what's being done here, and we're not going to be a part of the dismantling of government the way that it's occurring right now. That's a pretty powerful thing to do, right? For these folks to come together and be so frustrated about what they're being a part of, to step down. So that could have implications to the effectiveness with which the Doge effort is being conducted. We'll see how that plays out. But interesting to see that kind of protest activity as civil servants, stand up for themselves and their peers and their colleagues, many of whom are being dismissed or otherwise disrupted from their continued service to the nation, and saying, we're not going to be part of this anymore. Speaking of people that don't want anything to do with Doge or Elon Musk, hello, Canada. I don't know if you've seen this, but earlier this week, on the 20th of February, a Canadian citizen based out of British Columbia, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name correctly, Qualia Reed from British Columbia, opened a petition to revoke Elon Musk's citizenship. Now, this will probably go nowhere. They get a certain amount of signatures. These are supposed to go before the Parliament in Canada for review, and a Canadian elected official has taken up support for this protest, this petition. So we'll see where it goes. The petition opened on February 20th, and it's scheduled to close on June 20th. Well, within days, this opened on the 20th, right? So just late last week. By the 24th, there were over 160,000 signatures. Yesterday, it was climbing towards 200,000. As of this moment, you can see the petition online, and rapidly gaining. I think there have been about 10,000 more since I looked at this morning. There are presently 238 signatures saying, hey, revoke Elon Musk's citizenship. Canadians are frustrated by his continued disparaging remarks about the country. He has said publicly that Canada is not a real country. He's joked that Justin Trudeau should be a governor in the United States. And Canadians are fed up. Like, they're really disgusted and frustrated with what they're seeing here in the United States. So this petition is rapidly gaining support in Ontario, over 106,000 signatures as of this moment. Quebec, over 46,000. British Columbia, over 60,000. But it's across Canada. The lowest, there's some areas that are, one that's below 100, others in the hundreds, a few in the thousands. But again, almost 290,000. I would guess that by the end of the day, this will top 300,000 signatures with plenty of time to continue forward. So Canadians, I appreciate your intensity and your standing up for yourselves. And really, why is Elon Musk still a Canadian citizen? I don't know. That's your business. You can handle that. Staying with the character of Elon Musk just for a minute, because he's just become so divisive among so many people around the world, right? Because political activity from Canada to Germany, South Africa and elsewhere, he's throwing his weight and his resources around everywhere. And while he throws his weight around, he's also throwing his penis around a lot. And he's up to 13 known children at this time. Pretty interesting, right? His daughter, Vivian, his estranged transgender daughter, Vivian, took to social media to say she found out about his most recent child, his 13th child, via social media, right? That's the relationship that Mr. Musk has with his family. And while he's procreating with additional people, just last week, the mother of three of his children, musical artist Grimes, was saying, hey, again, taken to social media, which to talk about dysfunctionality, right? And they're in a custody battle. But his mother of three of his children, Grimes, posted on social media, please respond about our child's medical crisis. I'm sorry to do this publicly, but it is no longer acceptable to ignore this situation. This requires immediate attention. If you don't want to talk to me, can you please designate or hire someone who can, so we can move forward on solving this? This is urgent, Elon. That was posted last week, as one of his daughters is also getting frustrated with him, and as the mother of his 13th child is also struggling with Mr. Musk and his activities. The mother of his 13th child has taken up efforts to get him to be officially named as the father of the child, because I guess that's something he wasn't opening up to. And you can read some of the text online right now. Newsweek has an article covering this. So the mother, her name is St. Clair, Ashley St. Clair. And if you want to learn more about her, Hannah Cox has a podcast, the Base Politics podcast, and her episode yesterday, I believe, really dove into who Ashley St. Clair is, her background as sort of a trad wife, a hard right, kind of nonsensical character, but she sort of pursued Elon Musk for a while and she succeeded. And he sent some text messages to her, which have been now made public based on the lawsuit, just to read through some of the great conversation between Elon and Ms. St. Clair. In one November text, when their son was 2 months old, Elon supposedly wrote, "I want to knock you up again." In February, he wrote to her and said that they have a legion of kids to make. And then they continued on with some of their outreach. But then he said, hey, we can't publicly reveal that I'm the father because I could be assassinated, right? He told her, I get credible death threats. I'm number 2 after Trump for assassination. Loose lips sink ships, right? That only the paranoid survive. And basically saying, hey, I can't publicly be the father of your child, right? So he's struggling to maintain any kind of relationship with some of his kids. He's got kids in crisis, and mother of one of his batch of children reaching out to her on social media because he doesn't have time to respond to her because he's ripping apart the US government. But he's got time to impregnate other women. And so I say all this because what's still so fascinating about the Trump-Musk regime is the absolute devotion of the far-right Christian community, as these two men are so absolutely misaligned with the values of faith and the tenets of Christianity, but yet so embraced by so many churches around this country. It just is a bizarre alignment of beliefs and support that is sort of mutually manipulative, I guess, right? There's benefit to both sides in doing it, but one has to just kind of pause and say, really, like, is this what the church wants to support? You know, while President Trump loves to bash the Pope, and then he wants to raise up and elevate Elon Musk, and they want to talk about being, you know, in Trump's case at least, a man of faith and a believer. I believe in God like you, he says, but it's just so wacky, right? It's just so like out of place. It doesn't fit. And people are frustrated and people are protesting in different ways. And some are pushing back in other ways. Apple, for example, is recently in the news because apparently there's an Apple bug, an iPhone bug, that when some people dictate into their phone and say the word racist, apparently the phone flashes the word Trump in their text-to-speech transcription. I guess the video is posted on TikTok. It's gotten a lot of attention and views. Apple says they're investigating and trying to fix it, and they've tried to explain why this might be happening. But kind of funny, right? Kind of funny that if you say racist into your iPhone, the phone responds with texting, typing Trump. So Apple's looking into that. That's not really an Apple protest. Seems to be some kind of issue that they're trying to resolve. But there are other ways that Apple is pushing back. Not necessarily Apple itself, but Apple shareholders, as there was a push by the National Center for Public Policy Research to push Apple to terminate their DEI policies. And this organization, a conservative think tank, the National Center for Public Policy Research, they had a similar push with Costco. Costco shareholders rejected that, maintaining their DEI initiatives, as a host of other companies have really scaled back their DEI efforts since Trump came to office, Target maybe most famously, but others as well. Well, Apple shareholders rejected this effort as well. They said, no, we want our diversity. We recognize that Apple continues to be mostly white, mostly male by a lot. And we want to have more diversity than that in this company. And CEO Tim Cook stood up to say, hey, like this is important to us and who we are. That's part of what makes Apple great and has helped build our community. So good to see folks, whether you agree or don't agree with DI in itself, at least being willing to stand up and say, no, we're going to continue to do what we think is in our interest, not bow to the regime that's in office, which is something that Americans should never do. So good to see that on Apple. A funny story, a good story. Not all things Apple are great. I was disappointed this week to see that after pressure from the British government, Apple has terminated their option to maintain end-to-end encryption for British users on their iCloud accounts. That allows the British government to access those if they want. It creates a backdoor into that, ending end-to-end encryption, which if there's access of any kind, you've created an opportunity for adversaries, criminals, to also take advantage of that. So that puts British citizens at risk. It was sad to see the British government force that. Worse, maybe, to see Apple agree to that, right? They didn't have to agree to that. Governments around the world have been pushing to break encryption for a long time, including here in the United States. We're going to see more efforts to do that soon, I'm sure, right? That's one area I've disagreed with the FBI with for a long time. But companies can stand firm against that. And some companies do. And credit to Signal CEO, as she stood strong and said no, as Sweden was trying to require Signal and WhatsApp to create access for their government as well. And Signal CEO said, I will not do this. She's refused it. She said that if they want to try and force it, then Signal would leave the market. So pretty bold move. It shows that companies can stand firm in the face of pressure. And Meredith Whittaker was willing to do that. A strong woman standing strong for end-to-end encryption, which is what we as a community, all of us need to protect our communications from individuals, criminals, and governments that don't need to have access to your messaging to other people. Signal is a great organization and a great resource. If you can use it and donate to it, strongly encourage that you do. Maybe $5 a month for the service. It costs like $50 million a year to maintain it. And it's great to see them standing firm to support the community and say, no, we're not going to cave in to government pressure from Sweden or anybody else. So Tim Cook did some things well, failed in one respect here, but great to see Meredith Whittaker pick it up and stand strong in the face of pressure. So a lot of craziness going on. Just a couple of the big stories in the news you might have seen over the last week or not. We'll see where things go. One other political item, as we see all this pushback, James Carville, who was famous for his work with Bill Clinton, has been a Democratic strategist and commentator for a long time. He got some attention for comments that he made on Friday. Carville, now 80 years old, was saying, hey, look, the Trump administration is going to implode, and the best thing that Democrats can do is just stay on the sideline for another 4 to 6 weeks and watch this train go off the rails. He's been wrong about a lot. He's been right about some things. I don't know if people agree or disagree with this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've got some thoughts on it, is the best strategy for Democrats and those who oppose the Trump administration just to let them run ragged on their own accord, to drive themselves crazy and drive that train into the ditch? Or will that be, a problem that just gives Trump a clear runway to take off and do whatever he wants to do? It's a gamble, right? It's a gamble. A lot of folks on the left, a lot of liberals, a lot of Americans who just don't agree with what they're seeing are saying, hey, people need to stand up and fight back against what we're seeing in the dismembering of our government, of our federal service, of many of the things that America has, appreciated and counted on for a long time. Others are saying, hey, just let it take its course and see what happens, as polls show that more and more Americans are not supporting what they're seeing coming out of Washington, D.C., that this will just sort of take care of itself. I don't know if that's true, but interesting to see that come out publicly. So we'll see if Mr. Carville is supported by others, how Democrats might respond to that, and we'll see what happens in the days and weeks ahead. With that, something fun just to end the show with, hey, if you haven't watched something really stupid in a while, with everything serious and stressful going on, it might not be bad sometimes just to dial out. My wife and I don't get to watch as much TV as we used to, but on Friday or Saturday, we'll sit down for a little bit and just, try and take a minute to just decompress and think about nothing serious. And doing that, we love stupid dating shows, right? So I don't know if you've watched any of these on Netflix, but we're big fans of Singles Inferno, which is a Korean dating show and fun to watch on Netflix. And the one that's going on right now is Love is Blind Season 8. There's a show that's been on, again, in its 8th season. Previous episodes have taken place in communities around the country: Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Seattle, Houston, most recently, in Dave and my communities in Charlotte and Washington, D.C. This season, couples are together in Minneapolis. So the premise is that couples meet without seeing each other. They go through this dating period in what they call pods. So they have these conversations without seeing each other, getting to know each other. And some of the many folks on the show move towards getting engaged. They then go on a little vacation together, and they come back and live in a controlled environment in their home city together, where they spend time getting to know one another before moving to the altar and either getting married or walking away. And it's a stupid show, and it's a disastrous proposition to start a relationship this way. But for those that are just watching, it's pretty entertaining, right? It's mindless garbage that's pretty fun to watch. And it's fun to sort of hear others comment on it as well. Mina Kimes, who's a sports analyst, I just found out is a Love is Blind podcast. And it was kind of fun to hear her and her co-host as they sort of echoed a lot of the comments my wife and I were making to one another about characters and situations that people found themselves in. So if everything happening in this country right now is driving you bonkers, find a way to decompress. Maybe just read a book or listen to some great music. There's some great new music out right now, like new Mumford & Sons, new ALO. But if you need something just to put your eyes on and disconnect, maybe check out some of the stupid dating fun that's going on Netflix right now and see if that helps you not think about the possible chaos going on around our country. All right, with that, a short episode, a quick run through the news. We'll see what's coming Friday. It might be solo again, or maybe Dave will be back. Our thoughts are with him as he handles some personal business right now, and he can share what he wants to share with that when he gets back. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being with us. Today's the 201st episode of Men of a Certain X, so we're grateful to be with you, and thanks for being a part of the community. If you've got any thoughts on anything that we shared, let us know. We'd love to engage with you and hear more about it and your ideas. With that, we'll wrap up today's episode. Happy Wednesday, February 26th, 2025. Hopefully, we're all still here on Friday, and the country has not completely and totally fallen apart. Have a great day. Thanks for being with us.